My name is Reza, and for the longest time, I tried to bury the memories of what happened that night, deep in my mind. Even now, when I think back to that time, I can hardly believe it happened. But I know what I experienced was real. More real than I ever wanted it to be. It was 2014, during my mandatory military service in Iran. I was stationed at a remote checkpoint near the Lut Desert, one of the hottest and most desolate places on Earth. The Lut is a vast, barren stretch of land where the sand dunes rise like waves frozen in time, and the silence is so heavy it presses down on your chest like an invisible hand. We were stationed at Post 46, a dilapidated building made of crumbling concrete with a flickering generator and a radio that barely worked after midnight. Most nights were uneventful, just the constant heat, the deafening silence, and the endless expanse of sand. But that night, everything changed. It was early winter, and I was on the night shift with my partner, Ali. We were both 20, young, naive, and foolishly confident that nothing could ever touch us out there. Around 1:40 a.m., we were sitting outside, drinking lukewarm tea, when something strange happened. The wind stopped. It wasn't that it slowed down or changed direction. It simply stopped. The air grew thick, like the entire desert had become suffocatingly still. Even the hum of the generator seemed to fade. I could hear my own heartbeat echo in my ears. Ali froze mid-sip and looked at me with wide eyes. "Did you hear that?" he whispered. At first, I didn't hear anything. But then, from somewhere far off in the vast desert, a voice called my name. It was faint, barely audible, but it echoed across the open landscape. "Reza!" The sound was strange, like it was bouncing off distant walls, except there were no walls, no structures for the sound to bounce off of. Just miles of empty desert stretching in every direction. The voice sounded so real, so desperate, yet impossibly far away. I felt a cold shiver run down my spine, despite the warm air around us. Ali stood up, his eyes fixed on the horizon. "We should check it out," he said. I told him he was crazy. The military protocol was clear. Never venture into the desert at night unless you know exactly what you're looking for. But just as I was about to argue, the radio inside the building crackled to life, and a voice came through, urgent, static-ridden. "Post 46, respond! Urgent!" Ali ran inside to grab the receiver, but as soon as he touched it, the voice on the other end changed. It became higher, clearer, almost playful. "Reza! Come outside!" The color drained from Ali's face. That wasn't a man, or a soldier. We both stepped back outside, and the desert was as still as it had been. No wind, no sounds, no movement, just that eerie silence pressing in on us. And then we saw her. A woman. She stood near the first dune, barefoot, wearing a long white dress. Even though the air was still, her dress fluttered as though a wind was blowing it. Her black hair hung in front of her face, hiding her features. For a moment, I thought maybe she was a lost traveler, someone who had wandered into the desert and needed help. But then, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. She tilted her head. At first, it was a slow, deliberate movement. But then, she twisted her neck sharply to the left, then right. It was like she was studying us, like an owl preparing to strike its prey. No human could move like that. Ali whispered, "That's not a person." I swallowed hard and shouted into the silence, "Ma'am, do you need help?" She didn't answer. She just took one step forward, and then something unexplainable happened. Her foot didn't disturb the sand. No trace, no footprint. It was as if she wasn't even touching the ground. Ali grabbed my arm. "We need to get inside, now!" We ran back into the building, locked the metal door, and turned off the lights. For a moment, there was nothing but the sound of our breathing. Then there came a sound that made my blood freeze. Knock, knock, knock. 3 slow knocks on the metal door. Clang, clang, clang. Ali whispered. She followed us. We looked through the tiny peephole. There was nothing, just the desert stretching endlessly in front of us. But then, Ali froze. His eyes went wide. "Reza, look up." I tilted my head slightly to the peephole. What I saw made me stumble backward, almost losing my footing. Her face, her entire head, was pressed against the slit at the top of the door. Her neck twisted at an impossible angle. Her eyes were white, completely empty, glowing like some kind of sickly light. And her mouth, her jaw was unnaturally wide, hanging open, as if something was pulling it downward. I backed away, my heart pounding in my chest. Ali started reciting Ayat al-Kursi under his breath, trembling. But before we could react further, we heard something even worse. Footsteps. Slow, dragging, wet footsteps coming from the hallway behind us. The woman was still outside, her face still pressed against the door. But something else, something inside, was walking toward us, moving slowly through the darkness. Ali whispered, "There are 2 of them." We couldn't see it, but we could hear it. The weight of each step was like something large, heavy, but wrong. It didn't sound like a human. It was more like a force dragging itself across the floor. I grabbed the radio, trying to call for backup. Static. Then, a voice. It wasn't the voice of a soldier. It wasn't even a man's voice. It was my voice. "Don't turn around." Ali and I froze. We looked at each other, and Ali's eyes filled with terror. He shook his head, his voice barely audible. "That wasn't me." The footsteps grew louder. The metal shelves rattled. Something sparkled along the walls like long, sharp fingernails. Then, suddenly, the generator died. Complete darkness. I felt something cold touch my shoulder. Thin, cold fingers. I couldn't breathe. "Ah!" I screamed. Ali screamed, and we ran. We didn't grab our gear. We didn't look back. We tore that door open, and despite the face still pressed against the top of the door, we bolted into the desert night, running as fast as we could, not daring to look back. We ran for what felt like forever, 20 minutes, 30. It wasn't until we reached a passing truck on the main road that we finally stopped. The driver pulled over, and we climbed in, shaking with fear. The next morning, when we returned with command officers, Post 46 was gone. Not just empty. Gone. The concrete building, the shelves, the beds, the radio, everything had vanished, as though the desert had swallowed it whole. There wasn't even a trace of debris, just bare earth where the building had once stood. The official report said it was a structural collapse, but Ali and I knew better. We'd seen it. We'd heard it. That night we encountered something ancient, something darker than any man-made threat. It was the jinn. Ali never went back to the military. He moved far away and refused to talk about that night again. As for me, I'll never forget the voice. Every now and then, when I'm lying in bed, I hear it again. "Reza." It always comes when I'm about to fall asleep. Soft, distant, calling me from somewhere in the desert. And sometimes, when I'm alone at night, I hear footsteps in my hallway, and a voice from behind the door, using my own voice, saying, "Don't turn around." I know I'll never be free of it. In this version, I've kept the detailed structure, but added even more suspense and clarity for the audience. I've made sure to include clear moments of horror, detailed descriptions of the environment, and created a sense of lingering danger that sticks with the audience long after the story ends.